Is the ice already melted in this? Wow, okay, I guess. It's just that warm today. So you own a ZB Commodore with the V6 engine, and you don't know how to service it. Worry not. Alright, so for starters, let's head inside the car, and we'll pop the bonnet. So undo the latch, just there. Bonnet opens, V6 engine. Now, today we've got the oil service. So I've got K&N filter, part number HP 2012. I have some motor gear sump plug washers. They are SW12H-2s. And inside I've got some Penrite oil. So first things first, we are going to run the motor. Now I've just gone for a bit of a drive, so the motor's already mostly up to temperature. Should I film this? I think I should get a second camera. Let's film this on a second camera. Let's go inside the car. Alright, so all we're going to really look for is... Thank you, the bonnet is open. Check engine oil soon. So, yep, thank you. So, as you can see, 7% oil life remaining. Not ideal. Let's go back up to trips. Now I'm going to focus on that engine temperature. Almost at 90, that's where we want it to be. Oil temperature, just under 40, or just above 40 I should say, so we want that to be a little bit higher. Okay, so what we're going to do, WINS engine oil flush. Any brand will do, you don't really need to do the extreme stuff unless you've never done it before, in which case if you've never done it before I would probably, well, almost certainly do the extra strong, and then absolutely drain the oil while it's super hot so you can get absolutely all the sludge out. Personally, I've used something similar every time I've done a service, and I mean, you can't really see it on camera too well, but if I just take a quick photo down there, let's see, can I get the flash on it? Turn on flash. Alright, I will put that on the screen, but not saying that it's like absolutely vital or anything, but if you can look at the picture, you'll see that that engine is super clean in there. There's no, maybe a little bit of the orange oil staining. I like these WINS bottles. They got a little spiky dude here. You can do that and twist, and boom. Look at that, cuts the whole thing off neatly. Love it when companies use common sense on their products. Okay, so the instructions on this say add entire contents to engine oil, run 15 minutes, which is pretty much a universal thing. So drink, 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 drink. Gonna get that all in there. Basically what these engine oil flushes do is they will slightly, well, first of all, they're going to be a detergent. They've got a lot of, I think they've got a bit of diesel in them, pretty much. Something akin to diesel, maybe a little bit heavier. But what they're going to do is they're just going to start to dissolve some of the varnish and just add a bunch of extra detergents to the engine oil right at the end of its life when those detergents are basically spent, and just help clean out the oil. And I mean, if you do a 1-2 combination of running the, come on, running the engine until it's quite warm, which is easy to do on these. There's no ring of fire. You're not exactly putting your hands anywhere spectacularly risky. Jesus, that's loud. How about we just do that? So while we run the engine for 15 minutes, I'm just going to start a timer here on my phone, not for 8 hours, but for 15 minutes. What that's going to do is it's going to warm up the engine oil, get it ready for the change. And I'm going to grab some paper towel, a roll of paper towel here, and I'm just going to get that ready. And we will wait 15 minutes, I guess. Okay, 15 minutes has passed. So what I like to do, dipstick, hang it up like this. Now the reason why I do this is the first thing I take out, and that is the last thing that I put back in after the service. What it basically tells me to do is, if this dipstick is hanging up like this, the engine has no oil in it. So, because it's very easy to go, yep, I'll just take that off, I'll put that like that. And if you've got the dipstick in like this, there is absolutely nothing to remind you, oh, do that, engine's got oil in it. No, it doesn't. You haven't filled it yet. Maybe you went inside, you had lunch. So I do that. I don't take it completely off so that, dust or whatever doesn't go in. Dipstick hangs out like this. Usually what I'll do, if your car doesn't have a dipstick, not really applicable to this car, but usually what I'll do is I'll do something obvious, like put the cap upside down or something silly, something that'll remind you, hey, don't go starting the engine without oil in it. What I also usually try and do, key in my pocket. What I'll actually do is I'll chuck this inside now so that there's no way I can possibly just accidentally jump inside the car and turn on the car, unintentionally. So at this point, it's ready to go up. Now, usually you would get your jack, put it underneath the car. There is a jacking point on these cars, which is right down there. It's good enough for the service if you're doing it in your driveway on a flat piece of concrete. I have a better solution now. Wow, that bonnet does sit really high. Well, good enough. Okay, so oil is hot. Just get my little bucket ready. And I believe, wrong one. It's gonna be a bigger size, hold on. All right, let's try that again. All right, 15mm socket. Extend that out. Oh man, tight. Do that. Very nice. See how fast that's draining out of there? That oil is nice and hot, and it's also nice and thin because we put that additive in there. So you're going to give that a moment to drain out. Now make sure you've got a container that's big enough, because these take almost 6 litres, plus remember the volume of the your oil treatment. All right, let's get a little bit of brake clean, I think, because we'll clean off that sump plug and we will replace the washer. So I'm going to go to my toolbox and get a pick, right angle pick, and I'm going to go, here's a can of brake cleaner. Wow, that's almost full. Now, on these sump plug washers, some people will say, hey, it's fine to reuse them, you don't need to replace them every time, they're rubber. And in fact, that is technically true, because what you can actually do is observe these, and if they're not too crushed down, if they protrude above this surface here, technically you can reuse them. That's what I believe General Motors. Is that a helicopter going across? What's that? Something's loud. Big army helicopter going across. General Motors does technically say that you can reuse these. I do not, because they are cheap enough to completely replace, and they are incredibly cheap insurance, because if that washer does not conform correctly, you can have a drip. And if it's for the sake of a washer that costs what, a couple of bucks, you know, if you absolutely don't want to buy them from the dealership or from the parts store, you can get ones that are decently good off of eBay and they're not expensive whatsoever. Just replace them. Like, it's not that big a deal. I've got a new one here. It's just a little blue one, and that's it. Just slips over like that. There's no way this is going to come up good on camera, but you can see just barely sticks out above that surface because it's a bit plump, and that'll compress down perfectly. These I do like to put the tiniest little drip of oil onto them. You're supposed to do that with all rubber seals when it comes to sump plugs and stuff like that anyway. Just a teeny tiny little smear of oil. But while we finish for that to drain, I mean, there will be a drop of oil there, so you don't need to actually, you know, run your finger around that and lubricate it like you would an oil filter. So what I will do is I will leave him just sitting there, and I will move this bucket as far as it will go in this direction. Oh, I don't really need it to be that far, but maybe there. Okay. And let's go get an oil filter wrench real quick. Can't find my claw tool, which is weird. That would be clockwise, you idiot. Oh man, who put this on? You know what? I didn't. Because when I put filters on, I write dates on them. So I think this one got done at the dealership. There we go. Okay, let's let that drain out for a hot minute. Yeah, no wonder the sump plug was so tight. Oh man, it's going everywhere. Don't go everywhere. Go in the tank. This is where it's handy to have a little towel and a tin of brake cleaner close by. Right. Oh boy. Come on. Oh, man, this is slippery. So what I'm going to do with this is chuck it into a different oil can, because I have the one thing with these big K&N filters, especially on this car with its specific thread, they tend to kind of fall off the little hanging notch and just dump themselves directly into the oil, which is not really fun. Yeah, I want to point out as well, you see why I left the main sump plug out? Look how much is draining out now that air is available to go into those oil galleries. Tons of it streaming out. Look at it go. Okay, so while that's all draining out, let's get the other filter. Okay, so let's get my filter, which, as we said before, K&N number HP 2012. All right, now completely optional step. Let's be real. I only do this because I like to keep track of my services. We are going to do today's date, which is 24. So that's the date that it's changed. And mileage on the car is, let's have a look, 603. All right, so change that date and kilometers. And let's do Old Faithful. And there we go. Perfect. So now let's reattach. All right, so we've got a drop of oil. Let's put that on the seal. You always put oil on this seal. Every time. Never, ever go without it, because your oil filter won't seal properly and then it won't come off. Let's turn that off. Nice and clean. You want to have a clean sealing surface. All right. So that's just tight, and I usually like to go There you go. About a... That'll do. Nice. So it's just tight enough that I can't turn it. That's it. Now, if you've got, you know, gorilla fists, then maybe check your torque. Don't go absolutely crazy. All right, that's clean. Now, remember what I said? That's still a little bit drippy. That goes in there. Now there's just enough oil on that seal that won't leak. Let's get our wrench in the on direction. All right, that stops. That's it. That's all you need. That's it. That's tickled. Maybe just one little nip. That's it. That's stopped. Won't leak. Clean it. There you go. Perfect. And clean. I also want to point out specifically for ZBs, all of this kind of mucky stuff that's actually supposed to be there. It's from factory. I think it's like an anti-rust thing for Europe because you know, they got salted roads and snow and stuff in Germany where these things are made. Were made, still are technically. They're under PSA group now, so you know, go figure. All right. So, just because of height limitations, I did have. Oh, really? Damn towel just flew into the water, into the oil. That's suboptimal. So, because of height limits in here, but first things first, that comes straight out. Oil lid off. So that was the other reason why when I had to drain the oil, it like a bunch of it had to come out. If you leave the cap or the dipstick on, it's going to create a suction in the system, which yes, technically you're going to have, you know, your PCV system is going to be able to overcome it, but give the system the best chance it has. If even if you've only got that kind of just sitting there, it will allow air to get into the system and dump all of the rubbish oil out. So yeah, let's get some light in here. It's a bit dark. Before we put the oil in, I'm going to show you a trick. This is what I use. So I've got Penrite Pro, and what I've got is, let's do rego search. So we're going to go New South Wales, that's where I am, and let's just do and search, and it's going to come up with, I don't know if you can see that, Holden Calais with everything that's correct. Boom. Okay, that's it. Let's go to engine oil, and bam, EnviroPlus GF5 or GFS or whatever they call it, and it takes 5.7 litres of capacity, which means I have a 5 litre and a 1 litre. If you're following along at home and if you can do mathematics, unlike me, 5 and 1 makes 6. So 5.7 is less than 6. So what we're going to do, let's just give it a tip. You don't really need to mix oil, but you know, superstition. Do I have to commit war crimes against a bird that's annoying me? Is it being picked up by my microphone? I don't know. We'll find out. Can I open this? Wow. Good grief. Wow. Seal is tight. Okay. So, okay, that's new. They've got a cap now. Never used to have foil. That's new and interesting. Now, just on the app, basically every manufacturer of oil is going to have some kind. Let's get rid of that. Some kind of search on their website. They may have an app. They may have just a web search. But failing the app search, you can also look in your owner's manual, and the owner's manual will tell you how much oil to add to your vehicle. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump the whole 5 litres in there of this GF5 oil. Whole lot. And you can use a funnel if you want, but if you tip the bottle on its side, it usually flows nice enough that you don't really need it. I don't really use funnels that much myself, just depends on the angle of the oil filler. Alright, let's put the lid back on that. Get that out of the way. And another thing with oil, most bottles will have a little window on them. You can kind of see the oil sloshing around in there. And this one, it's marked 200, 400, 600, 800. So for 5.7, you have to count backwards. So one, well, from the top is 1 litre. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So at the 300 mark is where we're going to fill up to. We might need a little bit more though, because the oil filter from K&N is a little bit bigger than the standard one. Argue amongst yourselves in the comments whether that's good or bad, or going to destroy my engine and leave me stranded on the side of the road, or if it's going to give me 1,000 extra horsepower so I can chop Camry Sportivos all day. Okay, so this is going to be most of this bottle, to be honest, so it's probably going to be a bit more, but yeah, it's a bit more, but whatever. That's bang on the 200 mark, if you can see that at all. Probably doesn't really show up on camera, but you know, whatever. Alright, put that aside. Alright, it is now full of oil. Dipstick in. That goes in the correct way. If you do see, it doesn't even go in the incorrect way. So, you know, get it right. Get skill. Dexos should be the way that you need to read it. Let's get a piece of paper towel and check the dipstick. Wipe it off as it comes out, because it will give us an incorrect reading. And dip. All right, high on the dipstick, that's there, but we also need to fill the the filter. I don't know. Some people say, "Oh, you must fill the filter before you put it on the car, or your whole world will explode." Well, some cars have filters that are upside down. So, what do you make of that? This car, I know for a fact, has an oil pump which is actually suspended in the sump. So the level of the pump on these, the mechanical oil pump on these cars, is actually lower than the level of oil in the sump. So instead of having to suck it up through a like a tube and then send it into the system, the pressure system of the engine, it already primes, it self primes, and it's already going to be ready to send oil. So let's just let's start it. Why not? Oh, you know what would be good? It would be really, really good to start the car. What would be, like, you know, some might say vital. The keys. See, this is actually also why I keep keys separate from the car, because what if I accidentally, you know, some person, I don't know, jumps into the car and goes, hey, let's just start it or whatever, and you don't have any oil in the car. All right, so we run the car for a second, and we check the dipstick. Wipe the dipstick off, because otherwise it will give us a bad reading. The clue is kind of in the name. It's a dipstick, not pull-out stick. Beautiful. Oil level is right there, right on the mark. That can go back in. Give this a bit of a clean off, because we're not barbarians. That did spill a drop of oil before. And that's it. Almost it. Almost. We're nearly done. Almost there. Final thing to do on our oil change. Now, I want you to keep in mind this is specifically for cars with this steering wheel and this kind of dash. But this is how you change the oil reminder. Start the car. All right. Bonnet open. Yep, thank you. Change an engine oil soon. Just did that. So we go. Down menu. Down menu. Down menu. All right, engine oil remaining 7%. We go. Across. Oil life. Reset. Crazily enough, there's a tick button. When I press that tick button, reset. Are you sure you want to reset? Up. Yes, I do, because I just changed the oil. Boom. Bam. 100% oil. Look at that. Very easy. Very nice. Very demure. Now, what I do is trip B. Trip B is my service trip that I do. You don't need to do this, but I'm going to go, hold tick, and 0. So my average fuel economy for the entire oil service was 12 exactly litres per 100. Currently I'm doing 16 because I've been idling for, you know, ever. But that's it. That's how you do it. By the way, if you want to know how to change to the sport mode, so you go across, that brings up this little menu. You go down, 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 down to options, and you go touring. You go left, right. Sorry. You can go to sport display. That does that, and you can go touring display if you were wondering. That's a little bonus. I'm going to give you that one free of charge. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to change your engine oil on a V6 ZB Commodore with the LGX engine, that's all you need. Some 5W30 GF5 or the equivalent in your favorite brand, one oil filter, one little washer. That's it. A 15mm socket. If you don't have a lifting mechanism, a hoist like I do, a strong jack. Oh, I actually forgot to do the. Let me show you something. All right, let's go. Let's go handheld just for 1 second. So if you were going to uh, jack up your car just to do a service, just to do a service, what you would do is slide your jack under the front of the car, and you would find this thing here, preferably the actual mounting. If I pull back a little bit, you can see there's a great big steel rail that goes across the width of the car, and that's actually your best bet for a front jacking point, specifically right here. And what you can do is you can lift up the car from there and then slide two jack stands. Always use jack stands. You can slide those underneath the car to actually hold it up. Always, 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 always use stands. Do not rely on the hydraulic or mechanical jack to keep you safe under the car. All right, what else can we look at while I'm under here? Let's do it. Let's do a check. All right. Sump. Where's my camera? Not leaking. There is a bit of oil there, but that's from, cleaning it. I didn't clean that very well, but also not leaking. When you do this, something's weeping oil from there. What's that? Well, I'll figure whatever that is. But yeah, there is water dripping down from there. You can see, but that's from the aircon, so that's fine. Okay. So yeah, if you ever need to do an oil change on your ZB Commodore with the V6 engine, that's how easy it is. Yeah, you're going to drain about 6 liters of oil if you do the flush. So make sure you've got about an 8-liter container. 12-liter is better, but 8-liter I found is always just right in the middle, perfect. It's like the Three Bears porridge. 12 liters is a bit big. 5 liters way too small because it'll be right on the rim, and 8 liters, perfect. Yeah, simple as that. Now the question is, what do I do with all that yucky old oil? I can't use that. Well, no, you can't. But what you can do is you happen to have an empty bottle of oil. Look at that. Hear that? That's empty. Now what you do, you get that. You get your big funnel, and carefully, I might add, get your old oil, and carefully, preferably while it's still warm and it'll still flow. And what you need to do is, 9 times out of 10, you get like a parts store call. There's some parts which you Repco, I think sometimes. Give them a call, it's always a courtesy, just in case they don't. You can take it there, sometimes you cancel, a lot of them have silly limits, like 1 bottle of oil per day, whatever, but see, it's all fit. Hang on. It's quite tall. Yeah, that'll do. How about you? I'm just watching the little window inside the bowl there. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's cool. Now there. That's nice and nice and tight. Well, that's the other thing. A lot of times these bowls come with a service sticker, so if you do one of those, just check out that bowl. Half the time they'll be 1 for 3. We also have an anti-can of digitron. Let's use that. I don't need it anymore. I'm not sponsoring anything yet, but if you go to a injection car like these Commodores are, this stuff, digitron, every now and then, just once every couple of services or so. Yeah, this stuff works quite nicely. That should hold 100 mil. Look at that. No, fine. Oh man, really? No, weird.